We don't have the money, but we keep spending it. Why? Well, how did we spend this money? Well, they just conjured it up. I mean, they found the savings somewhere. Oh, this is great. Democrats first tried to get the money by using emergency deficit spending. That failed. Then they had to resort to take money originally intended for another program. They chose food stamps. Food stamps? Why would you do food stamps? Democrats want to starve your children. That doesn't work, does it? More on that next week. Food stamps. Well, the stimulus bill, you know, where we have the extra $367 billion, that included a food stamp spending boost, which was based on projected inflation rates for food prices. But are we having inflation? No, we're still worried about deflation. They increased the amount in the stimulus from $20 billion to $54 billion. Well, there's no inflation. That leaves them with billions in the future that we don't have, and that's more than we need. And no inflation? Let's just take that. So they rolled back $12 billion out of their mistake and just steered it towards the teacher unions. Oh, so it wasn't even a cut. They just wildly overspent on something. And then they just took some of that money that was a mistake and sent it someplace else, which is also a mistake. You know what happens to you if you do this? You go to jail. That's where a lot of these people belong, in jail. Not if you're in the federal government. No. You get applauded. You get reelected. You get fancy dinners. Yeah. By the way, does this mean that the federal government has just told us that deflation is coming? I mean, because they're saying there's not going to be any inflation here. No. So if we just continue deflation, that means America's engine doesn't start up, because you can't have inflation until the engine gets going again. So does that mean the engine's not going to get going until 2019? I thought you brought us back from the brink. Oh, happy days are here to stay. But remember, the recovery summer, we have been pulled back from that brink. Don't pay no attention to this guy. Please, don't look at actual facts. Don't let the real world deceive you. There's nothing to see here. Move along. Didn't you hear him? He said, turn the tube off. The government has lost touch with common sense. It's worse than that. They're intentionally doing this. If you're running a company, let's say, because it's the free market system, you're running Evil Capitalism, Inc. Because only people that are evil believe in capitalism. And you're making Etzels, and you're making old-style refrigerators, and cute little dollies for the children, and pies. Now, this one company, Evil Capitalism, Inc., has these 4 divisions. This one's losing, this one's losing, this one's losing, but who likes pie? I do. This one isn't taking any money from the parent company. This one is having dollars poured into it from Evil Capitalism, Inc. This one's not. Now, put on your thinking cap. Would you ever consider forcing this division to spend more money to become like these divisions? I don't think so. What you'd do as a good CEO is you'd see these divisions and say, you suck! Do what this division is doing. Wouldn't you? You certainly wouldn't penalize this division. You try to get everybody to emulate that through the rest of the company. As a CEO, if you had one division consistently outperforming others, you wouldn't punish it. But that's exactly what America's CEO is now doing. Now CEO Barack Obama, in this bill, has introduced additional requirements because the pie division is actually Texas. Texas, you'll remember, refused to spend much of the stimulus money that it was forced to take. They said, we're not spending it. Now, if they want any of the $830 million that Governor Rick Perry has, he has to provide assurance that they won't cut education spending till 2013. No, that's 2 years longer than everybody else. Governor Perry, he said that can't be done. Now look, here's Governor Perry. He actually tried to give Obama a letter. He was snubbed by the president. Here he is, trying to give him the letter. Please take the letter, Mr. President. Please take the letter. Please take the letter. No, give it to Valerie Jarrett. I don't want it. Give it to Valerie Jarrett. Oh, yeah, sure. But that's Rick Perry. Have I seen this scene before? Yes, I have. Play it, please. Oh, I've got a book, an anti-American book about how we destroyed Latin America. And let me read it here from Hugo Chavez. The president doesn't seem to want to hear any common sense. Something is not right here. Unions stand to gain over $100 million in extra union dues from this bill. Who, may I ask, who? The government listening to? Are they listening to you, who acknowledge that, yes, hi, my name's America and we have a problem? Or those in denial, who are only out for their own power? Unions. Okay. I've been thinking all day today, how do we explain what the Federal Reserve announced, that it's going to buy up new Treasury securities? Government debt. That's what this is. American debt. They're going to buy to the tune of about $18 billion this debt through September 13th. But if I'm the Fed, nobody knows exactly how much money I have. Now, this is only a small fraction of the roughly $700 billion in Treasury debt sitting on the Fed's balance sheet already. But we don't know exactly what's on the Fed's balance sheet. We just have to trust them. The Fed hopes that this is going to keep the interest rates low and encourage economic growth. Now, this is how it works. Watch. David Buckner is here with us. Hello, ladies. I feel like Bob Barker. Anyway, I'm the Fed, Treasury, broker. I like to call them money launderer, because that's what's happening here, and you'll understand that as we go along. All right. So I want to buy some of the American debt, but I don't have enough money. Correct me if I'm wrong here, David. Fair enough. Okay. So I don't have enough money. So I have to tell the Treasury to print some more money for me. But I say to the Treasury, I'm good for it. I've got plenty of assets. Treasury says, well, can I see your assets? No. No, it's mine, but you just have to trust me. So you print some more money, and you give the money to me, right?
Correct.
Why don't you just print about that much? Now, I put this money in with the other money, kind of mix it up. Now, I've got more money based on the little black book that nobody can see. Got it? Now, I can't buy this debt from the Treasury.
No.
So what does the Treasury have to do?
They have to sell it to a broker.
But they don't have any real money, do they?
They might have money for a moment, but they're going to come to you and ask you to buy from them what they have just purchased from the Treasury.
Okay, so you have to sell then this debt. Let's just sell this debt.
Those are the bonds.
To you. Here's the bonds. Now, I immediately swoop in as the Fed, because it would be wrong of me, right, illegal for me to buy it directly from
Can't go directly to it because you're separate entities. You represent the banks, you represent the government.
Got it. So
you print it.
So what I do is I now say, oh, it's a third party that has the debt. Let me buy it right away. So I take some of this money, and I give it to you, and you give me this. And I say, man, look at all these assets. I have these and this that you can't look at. But there's more debt. I need to buy more debt, but I don't have enough money. I convince the Treasury, look, I've got these assets and this that you can't look at. Print more money for me. Because remember, your dollar says at the top, take it out, look, it says this note is a Federal Reserve note, the Fed. I'm good for it, really. Now what's happened? I'm going to buy some more from you. Let me go buy these. I'm going to buy these over here, okay?
Which she has purchased from the Treasury.
Right. You purchased. I give that. Okay, so now the broker has money. The Fed has all of our debt. The Treasury is still trying to print more money. But as they print more money, look what's happened. When I started, I had some real actual dollars. But now because they've printed all this extra money, most of it's just bogus money. This is what happens when hyperinflation
just printed and the money is out there now, and that will create inflation because you have an abundance of cash in the economy. And so prices will go up. And the only people hurt by this, the consumer.
What happens in the end, David?
Oh, at some point in time, you're going to have to be able to get the cash out of the economy. So if I'm out here, I'm not a broker, I want to buy that debt, you're going to have to make it very appealing to me by offering me an interest rate much higher than what you paid. The interest rates are going to have to go up for me to say, guess what? I'll buy the debt from you. So for me to ever give you the cash back, to take cash out of the economy, to slow down the inflation, for me to take that off your hands, you're going to have to jack up those interest rates.
Because, America, here's what has to happen. See all the stuff we've printed? In the end, if this works right, and it has never worked before in history of the planet, it's never worked. What has to happen is we have to charge such high interest rates. He has to demand them. That what happens is we go back to all this money, and by charging those high interest rates, we suck all the funny money out. And so we're only left with the money that we had originally in the system. And then the Fed gives all of this back to the Treasury, and they destroy it. It's just that easy. Back in a second. By now, you probably know that a controversial imam, this guy, is trying to build a 13-story mosque and Muslim cultural center just 2 blocks from Ground Zero. By a margin of 61 to 26%, many New Yorkers oppose the idea. Is it that 61% of mostly liberal New Yorker city dwellers are bigots? I don't think so. Those who are most affected by the attack on 9/11 find it a little insensitive and incomprehensible to even consider when there are so many questions. How many Muslims have spoken out now? Most of them, I'll point out, are from Canada. You heard from one of them last night, Rail Raza. Now New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg has spit in the face of those who find it offensive to build this mosque so close to where so many lost loved ones by referring to them as bigots. He's made this about religious freedom. It has nothing to do with religious freedom. Stop. Muslims can do anything they want, just like every other American, except blow people up. If they want to build a mosque, they can build it. But there are many, many issues. One is the location. The others kind of surround around this guy. Where does the funding come from? Who is this guy involved with? Governor Patterson now said on Tuesday the developers of the mosque near Ground Zero might consider moving the project, and even floated the idea of offering them state land farther from Ground Zero. Why, they just did that for my church the other day. Oh, no, wait. No, they didn't. Apparently, though, the developers of the Park 51 Mosque project just can't find any other place in Manhattan or New York because everything's totally full, totally occupied. Yeah. I had my staff look for about 10 minutes today, and we only found, 57.7 million square feet of available space on the island. That's it. What? There's 12.9% vacancy here in Manhattan. How could you possibly squeeze a mosque into that tiny bit of space here on the island? You just can't do it. Fact is, I sit every day in my office and I can look straight through the office buildings. They're empty, not a desk in them. There's so much empty space in this city. But the developer says, well, yeah, but Lower Manhattan, it's got to be in Lower Manhattan. Well, first of all, why? That section of Lower Manhattan is mostly commercial, not residential. There's a small number of Muslims who live in the area. The largest concentration of Muslims in the New York City area is in Brooklyn. Well, let me just point this out because, yes, I do my homework. They don't necessarily build Islamic centers based on the Muslim population in any given area. But it is interesting that most Muslims will have to drive across the river, pass other mega mosques, through New York City congestion to get to this one. That doesn't sound like, Let me ask you this. If you're an evangelical minister, do you build a massive mega church right in the heart of Rome? How about Salt Lake City? Would you do that? I don't think so, unless you're trying to make a statement. And that's what this mosque is, a statement. I have been a supporter of this mosque all along. If you want to build it, and you want to build it there, if you're honest, if you're not involved with terrorism, if you don't have shady business dealings, then that's fine. But there is something wrong here, and it needs to be stopped.